Hi, this is Paul Roberts with Conscious Counseling 101. I had to take a long break there, and I had to leave YouTube and all those types of things, and kind of take my own advice, go back to that pool of ideas, and figure out what I needed to do next in my life. So, this video is something I do not advise you to watch until you have watched many of the other videos and fully grasp a lot of what it is I've been saying in all this time. Now, this is going to be very difficult to comprehend if you don't do that. You may be listening anyway, thinking, oh, I can figure out what he's talking about because I'm smart and intuitive. Yeah, maybe so, but it takes a lifetime of putting into practice the things that I'm talking about to really understand how they work and the power of them. And even then, you have to have confidence that they really work and that this is really true and it's not a delusion. And I always start off by saying I know nothing, and neither do you, and neither does anybody else. And so how would you know to even take this approach in the first place? It's very difficult for me to explain this all to you. So this video, if you're watching it, you're wasting your time most likely if you have not taken the time to watch many of the other videos. But I'm just going to go full force on this thing and assume that there are some people that have been watching what I've been talking about, have been applying these concepts to their own life, and are capable of dialoguing with me and understanding and following what I'm saying. So first, let me start off with where I've been and why I'm not on YouTube anymore. Actually, at this exact moment that I'm talking to about this, the videos are still on YouTube. Some of them are, but I'm going to be leaving there. And the reason why I'm doing this is because YouTube was at first a wonderful medium because all people could come together and they could talk about anything they want to and share their ideas for good or for bad and have other people receive those things. And at first I was thinking, okay, even if I apply what I have to offer for free to this, surely this goodness was going to overcome. And so I did. I put what I had in there. And I don't have the faith to believe that it will overcome for a number of ideas. Number one, I believe there's more bad in the world than good, but it's not bad, like the meaning that you think the word bad means. It's darkness or lack of understanding, lack of conscious insight, lack of vision and perspective of the whole. And because mostly there is bad in the world because of that and our limits of our perspectives, I believe that even though you inject good into it, it's ultimately going to serve more of a bad purpose than not. And especially since money is associated with it. And I had two accounts. One of them I got rid of, which was my personal account. I'm not very computer savvy, nor do I care to be. But one of the things that Google did when they bought YouTube was they tried to create everything so they could make their own little world, and like Facebook or whatever, but with their own way on it. And so what I did was I tried to disconnect from that, and in the process of disconnecting, I disconnected the account and I can't get it back because of the proprietary way that you try to get it back. And I'm not going to bother. This was to me a great indicator that I shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Sometimes we need our own failings to show us where we can learn and benefit from. When we're completely heightened conscious and we're just relying on ourselves, a lot of times we can get lulled into a false sense of security, and we need something to happen in our life that takes us, another step forward. Because let's face it, we are all decaying. We're all going downhill. We are all limited in our perspective and our consciousness, and sometimes we need things outside of ourselves to help us with these things. So I realized that Google was taking that over, and I realized that my injection of whatever good I could was not going to help even the few that were looking. And let's face it, I've got no cleavage. I'm not talking about titillating sexual things. I'm not talking about happening current events. I'm talking about things that would only matter to someone who's already looking and just wishes they could scour the earth and find any kind of guru that could help them. I'm the only kind of person that we can talk together that you're going to find. And it's very difficult. And finding me on YouTube is like finding a needle in the haystack. And it's really not where one should go looking anyway. So what I decided was I'm going to take this away from there. And at first I didn't want to do that because I thought I'd risk not reaching out to someone I would have met otherwise. But the results have been dismal. And I realize why that is, because it's really an entertainment medium, and nobody really is going there to look for truth and greater meaning and higher insights. And so I almost felt after a while, even though there were a few people I counseled with and talked to, I almost felt after a while that what I was really doing was allowing a system that was ultimately degrading society more power by whatever I gave to it, even in the smallest amount. And so I said, I've got to leave this. I'm supporting something with all the goodness that I have to offer that shouldn't be supported. And the reason why I do not want to support it is because it has ultimately succumbed to the forces of purely for monetary gain in those that serve and love money. And the unseen forces that Google is going to exert with the information that they have and the power and the financial means that they have over our future generations is just huge. So huge that if right now you could project this video into the future, I would probably be eradicated as the video, of course, as well. But right now we still have freedom of speech. We still have the ability to make people realize how important this is. And this is going to, I cannot stress how few people are going to see this. And one of the reasons why so few people are going to see this is because so few people are going to look. And why are so few people going to look? So few people are going to look because they're so convinced that what they see right in front of them is the all and end all of the world. And even if they think that there's something more than that and they go in searching for it, the chances or the probability that they're going to find somebody like myself is very, very, very small. Because I don't offer something for cash or any other reason. Even you listening with me now are not going to receive anything, because if you receive something from me, I would be breaking my own beliefs, which is that I know something. If I know something, I can offer it to you. All the healers and helpers and gurus and whatnot out there have all felt they could offer something to you, and they've all sold it to you. One of the things I want to do differently is I don't want to sell you anything. I don't want to actually have you come to me and buy something, because I would have to break what I do. I'd have to break what I do in order to do that. I'd have to believe that I can give you something, that I know something. I'd have to falsely lie to you in order to make you also think that. And I can't do that. So I realized that my disharmony with YouTube was because everything in there is about money and those that serve it and use it, and ultimately the mix and the jiving of me just wasn't right, because that's not where I should be, and I'm supporting something that I shouldn't be supporting in the whole process. So I'm going to find other ways to have people that want to speak with people like myself find me, and it's going to be starting at the website. And as long as this old world that we're living in does not deteriorate to the point where freedom of speech is not lost and people would actually still try to gain higher knowledge and insight, hopefully you'll be able to find me. This is how I operate. I willingly give anything that I possibly can to anyone who would ever want it. If they would just stay with me, I would follow them to the end of the world. And all for free. Because the most important thing in this world is what we can not know. And realizing that what we cannot know, therein lies the most significance of anything. So, that was on YouTube. Now let's talk about me. In my early innocence and naivete and darkness of my childhood, even though I had some of what I'm sharing now in the light burning in me, it was just smoldering in a small, like, pilot light type of condition. And what I did was, as soon as I got out of college, I got married. And so as soon as I would have naturally developed this burning sense of who I am and what I'm supposed to do, that was nipped in the butt right off the bat, because I committed to this other person, and I told them I would submit to them and I would not offer what I have to offer without their going along with it. And I have spent 25 years with this person trying to bring them up to the level of where they understand what it is I'm talking about, and to the level where we can function together as one unit. I have had my wings clipped all this time, and I've not been able to actually do anything that is much further beyond what I'm trying to do on a daily basis, which is take care of the family and the house and meet our financial needs and things like that. I've not been able to try to make my whole life about this purpose. And nobody that I know or have ever met understands these things. Nobody cares to, including my own wife. Now, my children, is to the level that I can explain it to them, they're starting to understand it because they take it in a lot more freely without disruption and like the skepticism that the world puts on you as you become jaded. So they take a little bit of it in, but I talk on an elementary level. When I speak with them, I say that your life purpose here is to serve, in the sense that you want to observe and understand and obey the highest commandment, which is to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, in love for your fellow brother and fellow believer in Christ. This is what I subscribe to, and this is a very, very difficult and painful walk to follow, because as of this day, I have a hunch that maybe I've bumped into a few people that are living today that also feel this way. And but that's it. And I think, and I'm really concerned that, that for a long time I was very concerned that, well, how could I stumble upon something that's so profound and so real? It must also be a delusion. And this is my biggest concern, that my faith in what I'm subscribing to and trying to help others with, because I know I can't know it, is misplaced. And I'm concerned that if I help others with that, it won't go anywhere because it was misplaced in the first place, and nobody's going to be able to follow what it is I'm trying to help them with because I was off somehow. And so I keep going back to where I don't know. But, and so you want to be very central. A lot of the religions, Christianity, and I don't study religion, but from what I've heard, a lot of them follow this thing where the middle is the right way, and everything else is the fall off to the right or the left. And within the middle, you don't make any assessment for certain. It's all just pure truth. As soon as you go away from that truth, you're going towards an extreme. Just the slightest little deviation, you're going to an extreme, and that's the margin of your ineffectiveness. And as much as I try to stay in the middle, because I know I don't know anything, as soon as I speak, just utter one word, it goes in the tendency of a direction of knowledge. I got to know it if I'm going to share it with you. And that's where the corruption comes in. And so you have to see this, and you have to delve into what I'm saying so that this doesn't happen to you if you're listening to what I say. That way you help me to be beneficial. I can only be beneficial by you seeing this too, and then you can help me to be beneficial for you because you're helping yourself. That's the only way we can bridge this gap. I'm artsy one. I see what is art, what is artsy-fartsy, and I share with you what I see, and the bridging of the gap that even I'm having trouble even with my own wife and my own family of bridging the gap is because you've got to take the baton and run with it, and I can't just give it to you. You've got to come to where I'm at and understand what I'm talking about, and then you have to take it. You have to sort out that little deviation I went away from center. Wherever the corruption of my limited perspectives and human lack of ability to see comes in, that's where you take it. And when you do, then it becomes useful to you. I've taken my art see, I've gone outside the realm of what a person can see, and through my artistic skills and talents and philosophies and perspectives, I've shaped it into a tangible form, in word form in this case, to you, and you have taken that and you've seen something that otherwise you wouldn't have seen because of my effort. That's my purpose in serving. That's my ultimate purpose in serving. That's what I want to do. I can't charge for that because I would be wrong. I would not want to be in a world where I have to receive the most valuable insights of the world and pay for it. Okay? I don't believe in that. So I've got to do this. I've got to conduct my life in the interim the whole time and do all this physical realm stuff that I do and be the Paul that I am and do the things I do for a career and raise my family and all this other stuff. And it's all meaningless. All that is for is so that I could be alive for a little while longer as my conscience develops and find some way to share with my viewing audience what I'm trying to share so that they can then have it. That's the service. That's the reason I'm here. That's my purpose in life. But it's very difficult. And that's what this video is about. If you're understanding what I'm saying, then it's because you came to me already with these insights, or you were helped with some of the insights that I've shared. But you're very rare. If I'm speaking to you and you're one of these people and you know it, you owe it to me, and you owe it to yourself and to me to correspond. Because it's so hard to reach somebody that understands these concepts. Now, let's go back. Supposing you had not looked at any of the earlier videos, you're probably now saying, why did I watch this? Now I'm wondering what this guy's saying. Well, that's why I asked you not to, but you did. So let's say you're still here, and you're still listening to me, and you're wondering, what am I talking about? And you didn't listen to my advice, and you didn't listen to enough of the other videos, and you didn't comprehend what I was saying. Okay, what am I talking about? I'm going to include this in one video, because this is the first video I've done in a long, long, long time. Let me talk about California and moving away. So I, ever since I was young, before I really turned on and became conscious, I wanted to live out in California because that was, to me, movies spoke to me. The legends and the heroes of long ago that were portrayed in movie form spoke to me. My mother always wanted me to read books. It didn't work. It just wasn't my way of learning. I was a physically dynamic, active person, and when I saw complex thoughts and things conveyed on the movies and television that I could then internalize and make that part of myself, this spoke to me. What I came to see was these were live back then, and a lot of the shooting was done out here. It's a nice place to live. A lot of people want to live out here. Well, what's happened to me is when I came out here, I was instantly comforted living out here because I was a sheltered child. I played mostly in the basement. My family didn't take me anywhere. We didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of means, and all my exposure to the world was done through the television and then later movies, and they were done out here. And so the environments in there were what I saw more than my own hometown. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I then moved to Walnut Lake, and then later to Clearwater, Florida. I've seen more of the world in the television on the movies than I ever saw of my own town. I didn't even hardly knew what my street looked like. Okay, so I was instantly happy being here because I've seen all this. I grew up with it. And so where all these lessons came from television and movies and all the things happened out here, I've already been a part of it in my own mentality development. So I'm comfortable here. So when I got married because of love. I got married because I fell in love with the first person that came along that would love me for myself. So I thought. A true love for the self, I think, is going to have to ultimately be agape love, which is an all love with nothing hoped in return. But what I got initially was, this is a handsome guy. He's got his act together. He's smarter than most people. He's more talented than most people. He's more energetic than most people. He's got some special light shining through that nobody else has. That's the kind of love that I received. Yeah, I had all those things. Okay? If you're skeptical, you might say, oh, he's arrogant. He thinks a lot of himself. You know what? There's nothing wrong thinking about yourself when you have a lot to think about. I was very prepared for life. I worked hard in my youth. I developed my skills in myself, and then finally my conscience last. That's the kind of love I received. And then we pledged ourselves to one another. When we pledged ourselves to one another, we had only then begun to see what pledging ourselves to one another meant. And what it meant was that we were going to subscribe in the point of view that we saw of being married. We used the model of Jesus and the church, and that Jesus was the head of the church, and that just in that way we would be. This is where it gets tricky, and this is what causes all our problem. Structured in that way, and the man would be the head of the family, and the woman would be subservient. But we also said the man would be subservient because he would love the woman, and if he loved the woman, he wouldn't ask her to do anything that he wouldn't be willing to do. And so the triangle is set, and it's also secular. And so what I did was I even though she showed this women's lib stuff and all kinds of problems with, I can't look at it that way because that's the way the world's saying no, no, no. And the people that have been in charge over the eons have shown this to be, the way things are, and still today, and it's led to racism and women being covered up and wars and all kinds of things. And the love of the world and how we can dominate it as the man, the stronger sex or whatever, has been all these bad things were internalized in her, and her father had died, and her mother had internalized all these things about how hard the world is on women and things like that. And that's one of the reasons why Jesus said that, to take care of widows and orphans, that's one of the things you could actually do for the service of God, other than just believing in the one who he sent. But what happened was she wasn't ready for all that. So I spent 20 years being subservient to her, not being who I needed to be, not who I was born to be, not who my conscious insight allowed me to be, just waiting, just sharing my life with her on a daily basis, just waiting for her to see what was missing, what more there was. Finally, at the 20th year anniversary, I said, okay, Mimi, here's the way it's been. We've been spinning our wheels all this time. We've seen the world develop around us. We've seen people we could have been helped lead to decay in their lives. You've seen so many things around us just crumbling and just taking different forms and different shapes, while we just stay as a pillar, but not growing, but a pillar. Okay? We're built on the rock. We're not going to be chipped away at, but we're not growing either. So we're not taking off. So I got her a necklace, which I don't normally do necklace things or jewelry things, because that symbolizes the importance of the things of this world. I mean, I'm wearing a ring and it's gold, but we do that as a symbol. There's no value placed in this. But so I got her that because I wanted her to have that, and I wanted her to realize this symbolizes how we're going to put the rock in the pool finally, and the ripples are going to expand, and that's the effect we're going to have. And we're going to go out into the world, and we're going to finally get it, because what's going to happen is this: I'm not going to stop being subservient to her, but as of this moment, I'm going to stop acting as if I'm wrong. So this was an incredible leap of faith at the 20th year anniversary. I not only was subservient all these years, but I considered the fact that everything I thought had to be wrong because she didn't see it. So all those years were not wasted because I developed. I gained a heightened conscious. I didn't put myself out there to do all the things I wanted to do. I instead did all the things I needed to do. And so finally, I got to the point of realizing I needed to do conscious counseling towards the end of that period. And another 5 years have passed by. During that 5 years, I've treated that last 5 years differently than I treated the 20 years before that. I treated as if I knew. I don't want to say no because we go back to we don't know. But I didn't treat it any longer as if I was wrong. I didn't treat it any longer as if I was wrong. I treated it as if I was right, even though I was still having to be subservient to her and I couldn't act on it. I can't act on anything without her because we're still subservient to one another. She's just starting, I think, to get that, but I've thought that many times in the past. So, what we're trying to do now is, we're trying to, because we've been crippled by the things that have happened in our life around us, like 911 and the computer revolution, where it seems like everything's great and everything, but really all it's going to be is giving more and more power to the few and make it harder for everybody else, because they all go running towards it. They give. They think it's so much fun and everything, and then before you know it, it zaps them back in the face. They don't realize what they got into. People are dim. They're not conscious. And what happens is, the ways of the world that have been pre-established before those people came along then take over. The ways of the world are that of darkness, that of longing for the service and love of money, that of worldly means being the guiding force, and the very few most powerful ones of those worldly means guide the rest of us and create and manipulate the systems for the rest of us, and the rest of us have to follow that, like sheep to the slaughter. And if you are at all familiar with Revelations or the end days or signs of the end days that Jesus spoke of, you can start to, if you follow, you can start to see the signs of the world and see how these things are going to come together, and that we have one global entity that is going to be in charge of it all through the power of the governments and the computers and the technological advances that we have and the different means that are available. As soon as it gets to the point where one entity can take over and have all others subservient, that will be when a time can be that the Antichrist could come. Not the many that have already come, but the one final beast, Antichrist. That doesn't mean that day he will come, but he could. Well, right now, things are still diversified and separate enough that he couldn't come. If he came, he would be thwarted. He couldn't get his hand enough on all the devices that humankind are subscribed to do. He couldn't do anything about that now. But what would happen is, when the time comes that he could, that would be the time when he could first come. Now, in conscious counseling, what I'm trying to do is prepare each person not only for understanding these huge concepts that they're going to take a long, long time to probably grasp, but I'm trying to help you in your daily dilemma of how you got stuck in traps that are thrown out by the darkness of society, how you got stuck in this overwhelming sea of this pool of ideas that it's just a barrage coming on you and you can't take control. We have this person that I know locally here that subscribes to all these New Age beliefs. I love listening to the New Age radio here. They're always trying to sell you something. Nobody gives away anything for free. They're always having a fundraising campaign. People run towards that with open arms, just like people do for hardcore Christianity or any other thing you can think of. Even atheism. Popular thing. Saying, oh, none of it exists. I'm just going to ignore it. Then I can enjoy my life and not have to think about that religious crap. No matter what you can think of, it's in that pool of ideas. And no matter what you pick up out of that pool of ideas, no matter what the concept is or how opposite it is to every other concept, it's still in that pool of ideas. And to the degree that you grab it is the degree that you're held prisoner. Because you knew. You were sure. No matter what it was. Everybody thinks there's one thing in there that's right. If you get it right, you'll have it. But no. It's the total pushing away of that altogether that's the right. Knowing that all of it is corrupt and man-made. Delusion, an artifact. The abandoning of it all and knowing that you can't know anything, and these things are all false tools and false gods and false life ways. This is what is the greatest offering that I can give you. And why I can't charge for it. Because listen to this. I just told you everything you need to know that you can't know. And yet, I didn't ask you for anything. Now, why do I have to make another video after this? Because you don't understand that. You do not understand the full ramification of what I've just said and given freely. So I have to work with you to help you understand that. But when I'm done and you go back to this video, it'll still be the same video and yet it'll make sense. All I am trying to do is help you to see that everything you latch onto in this physical realm will lead to corruption. Away from center. The farther you go into the love of anything, or the hatred of anything, or any particular direction, the farther you go into the realm of, oh, you're further back from where you were, to getting back to where the delusion hasn't grasped you. And many people grab onto many delusions and take in many different directions. And they're so fragmented and spread out, they can't ever figure it out. They think, I'm going to work with this one, I'm going to work with this one, I'm going to work with this one. And there's plenty of people that are out there that will help you work with those things and get paid for working with those things because those are physical realm things. But you can never fix the whole picture while you're working with this one and 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 the infinite things available to the barrage of humankind's problems. Because you think it's that. You think it's the physical realm thing that you're working with or the complex somehow in the balance of all the other things. No. The answer doesn't lie in that. All that has to be pushed aside. All the things that are in the pool of ideas, all the religions, all the non-religions, everything has to be pushed aside, and you have to come to where there's nothing. That is the realm of where is the only thing that we know for sure is that we can't know anything for sure. That's the only thing. That's the entirety of everything I could possibly offer you is said right there. So why do I go on? Why am I still going? Are you still listening? I'm still going because even when you get it, you won't believe it, you won't know it, you'll never be sure. So I'm still going because for myself, I don't get it. I'm not sure. You're just like me. You always will be, only you might have a long way to go to get to where I am, where you're still lost. I've traveled an incredible journey to get to this point and still not know. Most people won't take the first step towards it. They don't think it's gotten anywhere, but it has. to push those things aside and know that all those things in the physical realm are the handicaps that you put on yourself is very, very difficult to do. But it's difficult to do not because it's difficult to do. It is difficult to do in the physical realm. But it's so much more difficult because you don't know that you need to, and you don't know why, and you don't comprehend any of this. That's what heightened conscious brings. The heightened conscious can bring that to you. So what do you want to do? Because you can't grasp this right now in any other way than, well, this guy says it, and he sounds crazy, I can't understand what he's talking about. That's the best way you can grasp it right now without a heightened conscious. So what do? What I can do is I can offer you the tools that I have used to develop a heightened conscious so that you can come to see this way as I do in a crystal clear way, but for yourself without me doing it for you, just on your own. The tools I want to give you for free. I want to help you to use the tools for free. The whole thing I want to do for no charge. Because it's the most important thing in the world. That I believe. Even there, with me believing that, I left center, didn't I? Just a little bit. But I still have to do it. So I'm going to separate this from my life. I'm going to raise my family and children. Try to do whatever I have to do for a career. Try to live in this earthly realm and subscribe to these things that I'm made subservient to that I have to do on a daily basis. And I'm going to, but I'm going to do all those things because I've been given this trap of this physical facade to live within and have to make it happen so that the realm of the spiritual thing that I'm talking to you about, that sees what all lies behind it, can continue to not only exist, not only guide my path, but to help reach out to others and then in turn help them guide their path. That is the work that the human being can do in servitude to this world and anyone else that wants to find that will. But if you don't want to, you won't. Now, I grew up in the Christian church, and they said, knock and the door will be opened. It will. This is the door. What does everybody else think the door is? Go up to the front of the church, say, I want to accept Jesus into my heart. I'm knocking. Okay? That would work. That innocence, that purity would work. But it doesn't necessarily work. Even though it could work in spite of the church and all the facilities that they have. It doesn't necessarily work. And let me tell you why, and you've seen this on other videos. It doesn't work because the forces of this physical realm have already seized that church, have already seized their messages, have already seized their determination and their mentalities and their whole idea of how things are, and have already corrupted them. And so the natural thing that you're receiving isn't the essence of purity. It is the escape from harm. It is the ability to rise up somehow in your mind and overcome so that you can have. So you're only one step better than the outsider is. They didn't rise up so they can have. They just did whatever they had to do so that they can have. That's the worldly function. And in the church, you're only doing it one step better. You got a feather in your cap that says you're saved, by the way, all the time. That's what happens in the church. You're learning the worldly ways, but you get that extra feather because it feels better. You get the badge on your lapel. That is how distorted the formalized church has become. They don't even recognize the real church, just as the Jews didn't recognize the Son of God. The real church doesn't recognize what they're doing. And this is why in the end days, they'll be cast out. And they'll say, what? They don't even realize their own delusion because they're so subservient to it that they can't even break through with a heightened conscience and even see that. Jesus said he was the light of the world. He gave us all the tools to do this, but even in the place they say they're subscribing to those tools, they're so corrupt when those tools are presented, they can't even see them for what they are. The living light of the world, the Word, in this world, is still in the Word, but again, you could say, oh, it's just a book. All human factors in this physical realm, even a book, gets corrupted. Yes, it's an inspired word. Could there be wrong things? Sure, there could be wrong things. God could allow that. Everything in this world is corrupt. You can't hand something to someone and have it be pure. The only thing you can do is you can show them that whole picture. Hand them the very best thing you can. And they can, with all their resources in their life, take that final flaw out and become what they need to be. But only when they've done that. And look at the effort it takes. A lifetime of effort on someone like my part. All the work that God and Jesus ever did, and any other religion that could ever be given to us that could be positive, that would be ordained by what God, the Creator had wanted for us, all that work and a person's application of it through their life, struggling through the regular physical realm too, raising families and doing all those other things, and doing all the things that you need to do just to survive with your body, and not corrupt things in order to gain more than you should have, but do whatever you must. All that just to transfer this really messy idea that's almost impossible to grasp even for myself, and that you can't know about, just to hand to one other person or any other person that would come along. And then, can they take that and do those final steps? Can you help them to know how to do those final steps? Can you help them to see that? That's what I do. That's conscious counseling. And even when it's done, it's never done. Even after I die, it's never done. Even after you've received what I can give you, it's never done. Even after I help you to understand what you've received, or help you to understand why you need to take it, it's never done. Even once you've done as much as you think you could possibly do, and you're right on there with me, and you know what I'm talking about, and have been talking about, and you can apply it to your own world and see what it all means, it's still never done. Because then you're placed in the same limited predicament that I'm at now. You still can't know. You still have to have faith in it. It's almost impossible to reach anybody else. The odds seem overwhelming. Nobody understands anything what you're talking about. It's gobbledygook to the world. Following this won't help you successfully in the world. That's tough. It's just plain tough. And I'm still working on it with the person I've spent my life with. You can't imagine how long we've talked and how much we've talked. And I hope listened. And we're still struggling because these concepts, even though they're elementary and they're easy, the thorns and traps and delusions of this world and all the things that are around you all your life that have built you up have to be all broken down so that you can even see these simple concepts. Otherwise, they're made incredibly difficult. Your vices, your passions, everything that you've ever even cared about has to be seen for nothing. And then you can start to see what things that Jesus taught mean, even. But if you just went there and he said it, you might say, oh, he's a good man. Yeah, he shows some good insight. But you don't know what any of it means. But at the end, you can still go back to it, and then you can see it. But it took all that to get to it. You can't just go to Sunday school or church and memorize some verses and you think you know it. You don't know anything. It's corrupted by man. It takes you a life to get through it. Like, for instance, the verse that says, no one that is unwilling to leave father and mother and brother or sister behind is worthy to follow me. What the heck does that mean? Most people can't tell you. What it means is all these things that I'm talking about that have to fall away, that you finally have to see that where it was struck you, and you did away with all these devices that were holding you down, that was part of the network that was surrounding you like a net, that was keeping all your vices in your face that you couldn't break through. They all have to be lessened. This search has to be gained. You have to put those aside. You have to live them. And when you do, these truths will become self-evident. But even then, when you think you've got it all, you say, oh, shoot, did I get that all right? Did I suffer delusion while I was going there? Am I still obeying all the commandments? Am I honoring my mother and father? Think about that. How can you leave your mother and father and not break the commandment to honor your mother and father? Because leaving them is honoring if they don't understand these concepts. If you went along as an enabler, you wouldn't be honoring them. You'd be failing them. They might not think so, but you would be, and you'd come to know so. So honoring them, you must leave them if they're not understanding these concepts. These concepts are the crux of everything that you could come to, but you have to do it on your own. You have to see it. Only then can any of it make sense, and all of it make sense. But even then, it's only something you've come to. It's only something you believe. And the further you go to accepting it as absolute gospel knowledge and truth, is the further you go away from ever really being able to be sure of it. Now, in a general form, this is the first video I've said that sums up everything, even though it's long and rambly. Now I'm going to go back in like a surgeon and try to make more videos that will help you to understand the smaller facets of it. But if you wanted to go into this, yeah, you've got it at least. Now, after years, what you're listening to right now that may sound like gobbledygook, if it does, I have no idea why you're still listening. You must be really bored. But after years of searching and positive, heightened conscious, effective work on your part, these things that I'm saying will make as much sense to you as they do to me, which is only going to be to a certain level. So I'm telling you that ahead of time. But that level of going nowhere and knowing nothing is a higher level than almost anything that's ever been thought. And that's what I'm trying to offer. So for now, I'm going to sign off. This is Paul Roberts with with Conscious Counseling 101. I'm Artsy1, Paul Roberts. And if you made it through this and understand, or even if you don't understand, you want to understand, I'm there. There's no cost to talk. There's no cost for anything I try to do with you and help you with. And you can, of course, take it all for what it is, leave it, run with it, whatever you see. I have to trust that you're guided by divine insight with that ball in your hands. I'll talk to you soon, I hope. But this will hopefully make up for a little bit of what has been lost over the last year or so. And I hope to continue on with you. Goodbye for now.